Hello. Legacy is a word that becomes more important to politicians as they near the end of their political careers. At the beginning, it's about gaining power and obtaining influence and control. But as the years creep onwards, what people think of them becomes more and more important to our parliamentary reps. We've witnessed it time and time again. You can always tell when a politician's getting near the exit door, because suddenly grand projects that were consigned to the back cupboard under never going to happen are dusted down and become critical to the well-being of the nation. We see that now in Theresa May's desperate attempt to come up with anything, and I mean anything, to try and leave some project, some initiative that will at least place a veil over a real legacy of leaving the UK in a dark place in the hands of opportunists, adrift from Europe and gripped in the hands of a Make America Great president. Theresa May will be remembered as the Prime Minister who failed in just about everything she touched. Meanwhile, what of our own pet failed politician, our glorious Secretary of State for Scotland, David Mundell? Do you think he's worried about his legacy? Possibly. But along with 11 other Scottish Tories, including Stirling's very own spare part, Stephen Kerr MP, he chose to vote against an amendment that would stop Boris Johnson's plan to suspend Parliament and usher through a no-deal Brexit. A truly hopeless case. Old Snackbeard is now spending his twilight days in office, perhaps wistfully imagining the view from the top floor of the still under construction Queen Elizabeth House. Here's a man whose job it was to represent Scotland in the UK Cabinet, to ensure that Scotland's voice is heard and considered when policy is being discussed and agreed. During the last 3 years, he should have been pivotal in ensuring that the strong Remain voice in Scotland wasn't ignored. But instead, he continued to be an instrument of Westminster's control over our country. And at every step, he stressed that he would stand up for Scotland and ensure that any deal that was going to be agreed would be good for us. And at every step he failed. Rather than a voice for Scotland, he became the UK's doormat, sent out for meetings to tell the Scottish press and the people whatever version of Brexit that had been agreed that day was the best for Britain, and therefore the best for Scotland. Here's a man who, when appointed, promised to ensure that the infamous vow would be delivered. He'd worked to ensure that the Scottish Parliament was given more powers, that it became stronger. A Brexit bonanza indeed. But what he delivered was far from that. His inactions have led to an attack on the Scottish Parliament. He sat at meetings and just allowed powers that should have come to Scotland to be centralised in London. He's failed in any measure by which a Secretary of State for Scotland should be judged, except for one. You know, the one that will define his legacy. The voice of Westminster in Scotland. Aye. Well done, David Mundell. A modern day Toon Tabard. An empty coat, like the original Toon Tabard John Balliol. He was and is a puppet whose words are written for him and who parrots them with the sincerity of a man who would do anything to cling to power. But it isn't enough. His time has run its course. The best that can be said for Mundell is that at least he looked guilty, or maybe ill at ease, when he bumblingly delivered to us the latest Westminster edict. With the imminent crowning of Johnson, a new empty coat will have to be found to convey Westminster's instruction north. Whoever they may be, the legacy will be a welcomed one, because they'll be the last of their kind. Scotland will be independent and in no more need of an empty coat.